Michael addresses a current controversy in the courts, using an article from Gateway Pundit, by Joe Hoft. The story cites an Associated Press article.
His is turning out to be another turd that will not flush for the people who rigged the 2020 election. SCOTUS to reconsider hearing case alleging Biden, Harris, lawmakers ignored 2020 fraud, broke oaths. From Just the News website. SCOTUS to reconsider hearing case alleging Biden, Harris, lawmakers ignored 2020 fraud, broke oaths. bit.ly/justnewsoath. A rigged election is equivalent to war since both put into power a victor, argues plaintiff, and therefore allegations of a rigged election. Michael comments in his own non-AI voice in the debunking mode and didactic register, with a mere hint of scorn and scoffing. The headline is misleading. The suit is not about the fraud. It is about a procedure where senators, led by Ted Cruz, asked for a time period so the states could re-evaluate their electors. This time period is specifically written into law, and Senator Cruz observed all the conditions for it to be granted. Instead, former VP Mike Pence and 94 senators refused to grant this statutory requirement and ratified the election anyway. Thus, Biden and Harris were inaugurated illegally according to clear federal law about the requirements that had to be met before they could take office, and with the inauguration, the pool of guilty parties who violated their oaths of office grew to include Biden and Harris, and also 291 House members. That was the argument, but that was not the spirit in which SCOTUS first accepted it to be considered. SCOTUS had accepted to hear whether they will hear this initially, because they were afraid of Biden and company trying to stack the Supreme Court. Ruling on this case was the price Biden would pay if he did that, and all hell would break loose. This is the theory of Patrick Byrne. Once that court-packing danger was avoided and a time for public show had passed, SCOTUS then threw out the petition. No need to bother with trivial details like them gosh darn pesky Brunsons anymore. But then the problem hit them right between the eyes. The law is like a separate reality that exists according to its own rules and procedures, not according to the law of nature and the rules of the rest of reality. Reality does not have to apply. Thus, in an extreme case, an innocent person can receive the death penalty and be executed because his innocence, which everybody knows, is not able to be proven due to legal technicalities. Between reality and a legal technicality, the legal technicality almost always wins. A governor can pardon such a person, but that is a privilege to be exercised at the pleasure of the governor, not a legal condition he must follow. And without that pardon, according to the courts, the execution has to take place. Many courts get around inconvenient matters by refusing to let something from reality get into court in the first place, and become part of the domain of the law. But once something is in court records and it is specific about the law, it is no longer a reality issue that can be ignored by the courts. SCOTUS had accepted into its docket for consideration a case that was not about the reality of the election fraud, even though it looked like that, but instead a case where procedure as written, clearly unambiguously written, in federal law going back to God knows when, was not followed for filling the highest office in the land. But some people at SCOTUS didn't care. Once their problem was solved, they tried to deal with this issue as if it were a mere reality thing, and finally said it was not worth looking at. Big mistake. Through sheer stubbornness, the Brunsons keep coming back and saying the equivalent of, Your own rules were infringed about as clearly as they could be infringed to swear in a new president, and you agreed to see if this was true. It's right there in the court records, and you do not deny that the law was broken. Yet you will not look at this? As one idea in the petition goes, if an oath of office is violated, especially one to observe requirement in filling the government rulers, and no penalties are given out, the oath loses its legal meaning and is no longer binding. That's a legal contradiction and a big-ass problem within the domain of the law. And that is another turd that will not flush. Smiley face. I don't know how this will turn out, but it is a sticky issue for SCOTUS. They could lose all credibility and acceptance as an authority by the American people if this goes sideways. The bad guys and some coward judges did this. Now they have to live with it. Good. Smiley face. Michael,